Yo, what's up YouTube? It's Zach from Clash of Comics, where all panels are created equal. Coming back to you with a new video today. I just want to talk with you guys a little bit about my favorite character, Daredevil. I know it's been a while since I've been able to put out a video, but I was moving and such, so I was kind of in a crazy state, so I just wasn't in the mind to be able to make videos. But I'm back again, and we'll get some consistent content out to you guys. I'll probably be doing another Daredevil video and a series of videos on him because he's probably my favorite comic book character of all time. But today's going to be mostly just an overview of his character and the things I like about him and the characters around him. So we'll go ahead and get into it, but I hope you guys are excited. Matt Murdock, son of a boxer and a mob enforcer, he did not grow up in the best environment that a child should grow up in. Blinded by an accident where a radioactive waste got in his eyes while saving an elderly person, Matt Murdock's journey has been forged by heroism. Always the one willing to sacrifice himself for others, standing up for those who can't defend themselves, and standing up to bullies, whether they use guns, knives, or money. Using his enhanced senses that he received from the accident, a driven crime lawyer with a passion for rules, whose self-destructive nature, through being a vigilante, helps him cope with the darker aspects of his life. An on and off Catholic who many times challenges his God's true intentions and wonders whether he actually exists. A calm but collected character, full of anger, smug but serious, and will do anything to protect those around him, and will risk his own life before he lets anyone else's lose theirs. He has a very strong belief in justice, and I think this is what inspires him to become Daredevil, to tip the scales even when others are doing it in the opposite way. A character with as many love interests as he has supervillains, often at their own peril. The most significant of these being Elektra and Karen Page. Elektra being the assassin college girlfriend that he had, falling into the star-crossed lovers trope. The fact that Matt will always be a hero and Elektra will always be some type of antagonistic force is something that can never truly move past. And then Karen Page, the normal girl, the girl that always saw the good in Matt and saw how great Daredevil truly was. Someone that when Matt lost her, completely broke him and still affects him every day. And then his best friend and partner, Foggy Nelson, or also Franklin Nelson, who, while frustrating while reading the comics, is very important to Matt, as he is the one that really keeps him from going to the edge. The person that when he's being self-destructive is there to tell him that you're being self-destructive. An on and off again best friend who Matt goes through a lot of trials and tribulations with. But at the end of the day, when no one else is left, Foggy Nelson is always there to help Matt, to protect Matt, and to be there when he needs him. And that's really what a best friend is. And to me, Foggy Nelson is one of the greatest side characters of all time. The real beauty in Foggy is that Foggy is paranoid, Foggy can be annoying, but he's really there to tell Matt and be Matt's voice of reason. Daredevil the superhero is a benevolent vigilante that takes out his own anger on those looking to prey on the weak and innocent. A hero that you can count on, doing the right thing when acting only when necessary, and sometimes a little farther when needed. Almost a folklore type presence, someone who makes himself an enemy of those wishing to harm the innocent and enable the corrupt. To me, the comics really shine when they stick to the crime noir storytelling that Frank Miller established in his classic Daredevil run, one of the best comic book runs and most influential of all time. Taking a lot of tropes from manga and Eastern influences, throughout the years having artists such as Alex Maleev, Ron Garney, and Marco Cicchetto portray Daredevil and his adversaries in an all-consuming darkness that can't be ignored. Sticking to this noir style, it really does give you the vibe of how Hell's Kitchen actually feels and the world that Daredevil is part of. While other artists such as Bill Sienkiewicz, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, it's a really hard last name, and Paulo Rivera showing a lighter side to Daredevil comics that gives us a unique look into how Matt sees the world and how Daredevil's fighting actually works. Daredevil can be a detective, an enforcer, or a leader, no matter the situation, and someone of the people of Hell's Kitchen, and someone that people of New York in general can look to as a member of their community, watching out for them even if no one else will. Someone who is willing to bite the bullet coming out of Bullseye's gun if it protects one more man, woman, or child from the darkest aspects of New York. Now it's time for us to talk about my favorite aspect to Daredevil, and that's going to be his dual identity. Daredevil to me has the best dual identity in comics due to the way his character can enact change both as a hero and as a lawyer. Seeing as someone that can be a hero for both in his real life and as a superhero is something that I feel like every vigilante should strive for. Because At the end of the day, all of us can be heroes. You just have to do what you have to do to make the world a better place. As Matt Murdock, he's one of the best trial lawyers in New York, having won dozens of cases against some of those most wouldn't have the capability to do so. Does he use his powers to give him advantages in his work? Of course he does, like any superhero. But the way he uses them is what matters. For example, during Brubaker's run, during the story arc of Cruel and Unusual, character Big Ben Donovan, a known criminal that has confessed to the crime of murdering 2 children. Matt is convinced by Dakota North to go look into it because she believes that there's something funny going on with the story. Matt meets with him, only to find that the man is lying. The only way he's able to tell he's lying is because he can hear his heartbeat. Hearing his heartbeat, he can tell that whatever he's saying coming out of his mouth is not truthful. And during the run on the character, Daredevil ends up exonerating the man, saving an innocent life, a character on death row for a crime he did not commit. Using this as an example shows Matt and his capability to use his Daredevil powers to aid him in being a good lawyer and protecting the innocent with his work. Now, what I find really interesting about Daredevil is when it works in the opposite way. During Charles Soule's run on the character as a special prosecutor, and throughout the run is faced with challenges that finds him struggling to take down multiple people in court, to the point he feels that if he could testify as Daredevil, he may be able to put them in prison for good. So he does just that, in which it's met with pushback by Kingpin, of course. Now, this is where I think it gets interesting. With the pushback Matt is first met with at the state level, as far as the legitimacy of being able to use superheroes en masse as testimony, Matt loses his first bout. The state first shoots down this idea, the idea that superheroes should be able to testify, but Matt lost on purpose. Not because he wanted to lose, but because he knew he couldn't enact real change across the country unless he took it to the Supreme Court. Now, the crazy part about that, taking it to the Supreme Court, is only less than 1% of all cases brought before the Supreme Court actually pass. Matt decided that it was worth it for him to take it to that level because he could enact real change across the country, helping vigilantes take down criminals everywhere. When he wins this trial, it really does change the scope of what superheroes can do in and outside of the law. Matt doing this leaves his mark on every other person in the Marvel Universe, giving him an influence that I don't think many characters can match. Matt accomplishing this really does make him the perfect superhero to me, and the way that he's able to accomplish these things by just being a common man is nothing short of amazing to me. While Matt does have his triumphs, he succeeds in many areas, there is a darkness that consumes his life at every turn. Whether that be the loss of his father, his struggle with his faith, the star-crossed lovers trope he deals with Elektra, or the loss of Karen Page, and I guess Heather, but we don't need to talk about her. His friends like Foggy Nelson, Dakota Sky, and even his ex-wife Maleev, all victims at one point of his self-destructive nature. Matt feels very deeply in those moments, and when his humanity shines through, that's when it shows that Daredevil is truly great, and what he really is. A very broken man, great in many areas, but not perfect. A man that always toes the line, careful not to cross it. Matt Murdock to me is the perfect superhero. A man that does his best and then some, even in his worst moments. When he's at rock bottom, even Matt finds a way to bring himself back up for the good of everyone else, because that's the type of man he is. Thanks again, guys, for coming and watching my video. This is going to be Zach with Clash of Comics, where all panels are created equal. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter. I have a new @ it's Born Again Zach. And then follow the Discord and follow the homies. And I just want to say, have a great rest of your day, and love you guys. Later.